Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
All right, so we are going to be filling in or trying to fill in the answers to many questions because there's just so much news. You can just grab from here and grab from there. There's so much to talk about. One of the things we're going to be talking about is sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. Well, parts of Judea and Samaria. That's what the government's talking about now. And the new government of Israel that's sworn in, is supposed to be sworn in this week. And it was done on Sunday. And Iran tries to attack Israel's water system through a cyber attack. What now? What steps is the Israeli government taking right now? And drafting Israelis into IDF combat units. Who gets picked for those? We're going to be discussing this and probably more during the show. You can call in with your own questions, or if you'd like to weigh in on the issues that we're speaking about, you can do that by calling into the show. If you're listening when it's being aired live, that means if it's Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time, or if it's between 4 to 5 p.m. Israel Holy Time right here. And that means that we are live and you can call into the show. Our numbers are on our homepage at israelnewstalkradio.com. Lots and lots and lots to talk about. What is happening between Naftali Bennett and his Yamina party, not joining the government, not getting the government seats or ministry seats that they wanted, the ministry positions. This is the largest government, I believe, in the history of the state of Israel at one of the lowest economic times in the history of Israel. And, well, we can't afford it. How long will this government even last? We're going to be talking about all of this today on the show. And again, feel free to call in with your questions. You can join us in the chat room as well. Hi, everybody in the chat room, and hi, everybody who's listening from all over the world. It's really, really, really good to see you all. It warms my heart. And if you love Israel News Talk Radio, consider partnering with us and being part of this unit that broadcasts the voice of Israel to the world. We'll be right back.
G'day, I'm Jono Vandor.
And I'm Ross Nichols.
Join us on our program, Israel on My Mind, a show that broadcasts all the weekly goodness that flows like milk and honey from the Holy Land straight into your ears with humorous and happy news stories.
New shows are posted every Thursday at 7 p.m. Israel time, highlighting the lighter side and advancing a positive view of Israel here on Israel News Talk Radio.
Be biblical.
Be beautiful.
Wear your crown.
Wrapping is my crown.
Do what married Jewish women have been doing for thousands of years. Celebrate the art of head wrapping. I'm Andrea Grinberg from Rapunzel.com. We have beautiful scarves, stunning accessories, scarves for faith, scarves for healing, and scarves for fun. Rapunzel.com. That's Rapunzel with a W. Or click on our banner on the Israel News Talk Radio homepage.
Rapunzel.com. Beautiful scarves, stunning accessories paired with tutorials, support, and a vibrant community to give you everything you need to start and perfect your head covering journey.
Don't forget, join the Rapunzel community group on Facebook to see, learn, and share your beautiful wraps. That's Rapunzel with a W on Facebook.
I love Rapunzel.
I love Rapunzel.
I love Rapunzel.
Get 10% off your purchase with promo code RADIO. Go now to Rapunzel.com.
All right, so the headlines as of Sunday afternoon. are that the Prime Minister of Israel is saying that it is time to apply sovereignty. Now, we have a government that is an emergency coalition government, a unity government between the left and the right, between Benny Gantz and Benjamin Netanyahu, and that's left and right together. Now, the left is not interested in applying sovereignty. And how long will a government like this last? Can it last? Well, here to tell us more about everything, we have joining us Dr. Mordechai Ben-Menachem. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so where would you like to start?
Well, I slightly disagree with you. The Blue and White Party is not opposed to the application of sovereignty. They just want a few preconditions before it can be done. But it's really a technical disagreement more than anything else at this point. But okay, that's just an incidental thing. What people need to be aware of, first of all, is that this is the 35th government of the country. Every government has a document which is a predecessor document to the coalition agreement. And this document is called Principles of Government, the principles upon which this government will be formed. And the parties to the coalition agreement all state in their coalition agreements that they accept the principles of governing. It's a very important point because it's part of the legal process of how a government is formed in terms of coalitions. And of course, every government in history of Israel has always been a coalition government.
Right.
Of some sort. Okay.
Yes.
So the coalition here is formed upon the basis of this document. By the way, the document is very short. It's less than half a page. It just lists a set of principles. And the principle, the overriding principle is that this is an emergency government formed first and foremost to deal with the corona crisis. And the corona crisis, by this definition, is divided into two aspects, the medical aspect and the economic aspect. And that's the overriding principle here. So the issues like, for instance, sovereignty in Judah and Samaria, that's in the coalition agreement. That's not part of the principles of government because that's not an emergency issue. It's just a question of technicalities, how these things are defined. Okay. Now, all of the parties to the coalition, other than Blue and White, are in the same frame of reference in terms of application of sovereignty as is Likud. Blue and White, as I said, have some technical stipulations that they would like to see, but mostly they've passed on most of them, and they don't feel that they're all that relevant, and they've acquiesced to the Likud's position on that, except for one item which is a really technical, very small. And they said, let's talk about it after the 1st of July. That's the only precondition that they asked for in terms of application of sovereignty. Let's delay the discussion for a month and a half. That's their precondition in its entirety in any practical terms.
Keep going.
Okay, so the coalition agreement and the government is based upon these concepts. We'd have to deal with the corona crisis, as I said, the medical crisis. The medical crisis for now, and I emphasize that very strongly, is more or less ending. It's more or less being finished up here in Israel, not necessarily not in the world, here in Israel. The government so far has done a fantastic job, and I'll get to some numbers in a moment so we can know how exactly what I'm talking about when I say it's done a good job. And now we have to start dealing with the economic aspects and subtitle that, I should say, economic/social, because there are social aspects to the economic problems. And the economy is beginning to open up. We see that the children have gone back to school. Today it was already 75% attendance, which is superb.
Okay, and I have to mention here that going back to school is voluntary. That's what the government said. You do not have to send your child back if you have any, worries. But go ahead.
That's a very good point, because that dovetails to what I said about 75% of the children were already back in school today, which means that the level of confidence in the population is surprisingly high. It's higher than I would have expected.
Okay.
And that's very pleasing to see. There are still limitations. For instance, children from the fourth grade and up have to sit in class with masks on, etc. But these are technical issues, not central, and children are learning. And remember, children going back to school is a precondition for opening up the economy, because otherwise people need to stay at home to take care of their children.
That is the key. Exactly. That is exactly why they are opening up the schools, because they want the economy to get back and running again. Go ahead. So parents can go to school.
And there was already a decision today, this morning. As a matter of fact, I think it was about 3 hours ago, if I'm not mistaken, that even restaurants will be opening up. They haven't given a date yet, but they were supposed to open up only at the end of May, and they will be opening up at least a week earlier than that, possibly even this week.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Again, these are very significant changes in the regimen.
Okay, Mordechai, as a scientist and a researcher, what do you think the chances are that opening up now is going to be okay, that we're not going to hit a round 2, that we're not making a mistake by doing this too early? Do you think that the numbers are good enough that we're good to go?
I think, first of all, let me say that I'm not disagreeing at all with your question, but I'm going to change it slightly.
Okay.
Your question is absolutely correct. There is, in my estimation, an almost 100% chance that we will have a second round. If there isn't, that is unprecedented in the history of epidemics. There is always a second round. The question is when and how bad. So there will be a second round. Now, is the government, in terms of the government of Israel specifically, taking sufficient precautions and the sufficient measurements to ensure that the second round will be as, how should I put it, gentle? I don't know if that's the right word. As gentle as possible and not as harsh as it could be? I perceive that they are. Clearly, I'm not in the health ministry, so I can't know specifics, but it seems that they are. They're really measuring everything, and the measurements are coming out every day, and we can view them, and the numbers are looking very, very good.
Okay, so you as a scientist and researcher are pretty satisfied the way that the government has been acting and has been taking care of its population and is now reopening the economy.
Let me put that in numbers. You're absolutely correct. Let me put that in numbers, okay? The paragons of virtue and morality in the world, in their own terminology, are Belgium and Sweden. Belgium has 781 dead people per million. Israel has 9.1 million population. Belgium has 11.5 million population. Sweden has 10 million population. In other words, we're talking about 3 countries that have about the same size. Belgium has 781 dead per million. Sweden has 364 dead per million. Israel has 31.
That's quite impressive numbers.
Very impressive numbers. In other words, basically, if I was to put it in very crass terminology, countries like Belgium and Sweden made a conscious decision to euthanize their elderly.
That is very, very hard. That's a very hard statement, and but true, I guess. And tell me this: if indeed we go to a second round of coronavirus, I've heard from the politicians in the headlines saying that the second round's going to be even worse than the first one. I'm wondering if that's true, and if it is true, why? Explain to us.
Okay, let me explain what happened in the second round. Now, again, this is not a general statement. I'm talking specifically about Israel at the moment, because Israel being a small country, relatively disciplined country, that doesn't mean we don't have crazy guys. We always have, every population has its crazies. What we've done is, what the government has done here, which is so impressive, is they've done what's called, in terms of statistics, a drill down. In other words, you're not looking just at numbers at the level of the general population, but you're looking at numbers at the level of individual neighborhoods, not even at the level of individual cities, but neighborhoods within cities. So when a second round strikes, and as I said, I fully expect that there will be a second round, they will be able to isolate the areas where it is striking very, very quickly, quarantine those areas, and close off the second round in each specific area. So if, for instance, I don't know, if a neighborhood ABC in town XYZ has a big uptick in its numbers, they can close off that neighborhood, even keeping the children in that neighborhood.
All right, hold it right there, Mordechai.
Cease the spread.
Okay, we're going to a break. When we get back, we're going to be talking more about what's going on in the news here in Israel. We'll be right back.
Hi, everyone. This is Andrea Simento from Jerusalem, inviting you to drop everything and join me on my show, Pull Up a Chair. We'll visit this week's quirky stories, meet fabulous guests, and discover my Israel. Together, we'll laugh, shout, and explain the topics that make us say, hey, we've got to talk about that. So get comfortable and pull up a chair with me, Andrea Simento, every Thursday on Israel News Talk Radio.
Hidden treasures in the Hebrew Bible?
Then join me, Rav Yitzhak Michelson,
and me, William Hall,
on the Science of Kabbalah, where we are seeking to narrow the gap between what we understand of our physical and spiritual worlds. So make sure to tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Israel time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on Israel News Talk Radio.
All right, we're back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. Our guest is Dr. Mordechai Ben-Menachem. He's a researcher, former lecturer at Ben-Gurion University, and he commentates on Mideast and world issues. We're talking about the latest news stories in Israel, including the possible annexation of, or I should say sovereignty, in parts of Judea and Samaria, which some people wrongly and incorrectly refer to as the West Bank. You know, it's funny, I was being interviewed on someone's radio show in the United States, and he was asking me, Tamar, what do you think about Trump letting Israel annex the West Bank or put sovereignty there? And I said, well, first of all, Israel is a sovereign country. We don't need permission from anyone, even though we appreciate and we're happy that Trump, U.S. President Donald Trump is wanting to see this. We welcome that, but we do not need permission from anyone. And second of all, about annexing or putting sovereignty in the West Bank, I said I want to liberate the occupied East Bank of the Jordan River, because the East Bank of the Jordan River is being occupied by the Jordanians, these Arabs who call themselves Jordanians. There was no country named Jordan ever until the last 100 years. It's just made up by the British. And it's Jewish land. It's where the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half of the tribe of Manasseh lived. That's part of the land of Israel. Anyway, I just want to slip that in. But getting back to the news stories, Dr. Mordechai Ben-Menachem, with this talk of annexation or sovereignty in parts of Judea and Samaria, with the new government, with Naftali Bennett and his Yamina party being out of this coalition, and they're going to the opposition, etc. Where do you see the future of Naftali Bennett and the Yamina party and Ayelet Shaked?
I have to make one very quick comment about what you just said about the application of sovereignty. Legally, in terms of actual application of law, from the year 1920, Israel has sovereignty over all of that area, including the part that you were talking about, by law, by international law, accredited by every country in the world, including the Arab countries that existed at that time. That was called the San Remo Conference, and it was agreed to by the League of Nations, and later it was approved by the United Nations. So legally, you are absolutely correct.
Yes, this is true.
Emotionally, there might be a problem there, but legally, you are absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now let's get back to Bennett. First of all, we have to mention that Yamina is going to opposition in part, because part of Yamina has joined the government.
Yes. Rafi Peretz from the Jewish Home Party broke away from the Yamina, and he joined the government. He's going to be a minister. I forget what job they bribed him with.
Affairs.
What was it?
Jerusalem Affairs.
Yes, right, correct. Okay, go ahead.
So Naftali Bennett is going to the opposition. I'm very sorry to see that Ayelet Shaked continues to follow him and is not showing leadership. Naftali Bennett, as far as I can tell, and I've spoken to several people about this, everyone, even people that formerly supported that party, look at him today pretty much with disgust. He's so obviously driven by his self-conceit and his ego that it's just of no value anymore.
Tell our listeners why you're saying that.
Pardon?
Tell our listeners why you say that.
Well, as I said, first of all, I've been speaking to people, and I've heard this more than once. But Naftali Bennett just hasn't really brought very many benefits to the governments that he's been participating in. I mean, he's okay in terms of, as a technocrat, he does reasonable work, certainly not exemplary. He's okay. He's sort of nice to have, but he makes too much noise. He's not a team player. He doesn't cooperate with people in the government. He doesn't work with the government. He views himself as being as having a right to shout down everybody, and his opinions and his views need to be on the top of every list of everybody. Otherwise, he's going to shout and cry and blubber and whatever.
Okay, in his defense, I just want to say,
you run a government.
Okay, I just want to say in his defense, he is talented in that he is a great communicator. When he's interviewed on the news and other news stations and they're attacking Israel, he's very good at hasbara, or as Israeli, giving out the truth of what's going on here. And I've heard people say he's been a pretty good. They say he's been a pretty good defense minister in that he is not taking any flack from Iran trying to put bases and move weapons in Syria. He's been bombing these Iranian weapons that are being moved, and he's been doing pretty good. So what do you have to say to that?
Again, this is he's okay. This is normal stuff. But I think the one who's really driving that is Kohavi. I mean, the head of the army. He's the one who's actually driving that process. He's been talking about it continuously since before he was nominated for the position. These are policies that are on the table, that are in documents before Bennett became the Minister of Defense.
Okay.
So this is not really, it's really difficult to say that it's him. He's allowing declared policy to be implemented. That's good. again, but that's technical.
Okay,
that's
so
not
you
exemplary.
think that it's the end of his career? Do you think that he's going to fizzle out in the opposition and just be irrelevant? And
I think so. I doubt if he's capable of getting elected again, unless he again does some sort of manipulation. It's just too small. It's just not there.
Interesting.
I'm hoping that somebody there in his party will wake up and accept leadership and do something reasonable, and tell him just enough. Your ego has just grown too big for your head.
Okay, so we only have about 3 minutes left. Since we're talking about Iran for briefly, when we talk about what they're doing in trying to attack Israel, they made a cyber attack on Israel's water system. Now there was a announcement by the Israel's Home Front Command that every Israeli citizen should store away 4 liters of water per person just in case of an emergency. And this was published in some magazine. I don't remember which magazine it was, but I saw the advert, and we know that Israel was attacked or attempted attack by Iran. So where do you want to go with this in the last 2 minutes that we have now?
Well, people need to be aware. I always call the Iranian regime the criminal regime, and the Atomic Energy Commission last week announced that Iran now has 3 times the amount of uranium, of refined uranium, that they contracted for in the deal with the Europeans and etc. They're clearly moving towards atomic weaponry. Very clearly, they're not quiet about it. Their attempts at cyber attacks, both, by the way, not only in Israel, also in the United States. They attacked the United States as well several times in cyber attacks. They're pretty pathetic. They're pretty good at that. They're not exemplary, but that's not where the worry needs to be. That's not where the concern really is. They're a criminal regime, and at some point they need to simply get a bloody nose.
Okay, and there's friction now between the United States as well, with some ships shipping oil to Venezuela, and America has threatened that they would stop that too. So a lot of tension there. All right, in the last minute that we have, what would you like to leave us with?
I'm going to take it in a completely different direction from what we've talked about so far. On Friday, a very close friend of mine telephoned me and said, I've just discovered a place close to Jerusalem where they make cheese. And I'm very fond of cheese. And there's a park just outside of Jerusalem called Sapaf, S-A-P-A-F. A beautiful, beautiful park with natural forestry and everything. And we went to the park there. It's about a 15, 20-minute drive from where I live. And another 15 minutes was in the park on sort of difficult dirt roads. And I bought some goat cheeses. There's a goat farm there. And I have to say, I ate them for my Saturday morning breakfast, together with a really superb Israeli beer called Slow Brew and some pickled olives that I pickle, etc. And it was one of the finest meals I've had in my entire life.
Well, I see you've been living it up.
Were unbelievable.
All right. I'm glad you've been living it up, Mordechai. Very nice. Okay, so Israel serves great cheese and craft beers, etc. For anybody who's interested, they can try some awesome stuff. My son loves craft beers as well. He brings them home. Actually, they have delivery now straight to your home from a lot of these craft beer places we got. So he was really excited. Okay, so look, things are looking up, you're saying, with the new government. We don't know how long this will last, but in the meantime, we don't have to go to a fourth election.
I think again, the government is too big. There are a lot of problems with it, but it's better to have it than to not have it. And basically, the direction is the correct direction.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. Dr. Mordechai Ben-Menachem, thank you very, very much for being with us on the show. Very interesting.
Thank you.
And keep going to nice restaurants. You can give some good reviews for us here in Israel.
It wasn't a restaurant. It was a
cheese place.
A farm in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. When we get back, we're going to be having our Jewish activism segment with Shifra Hoffman, everybody. So don't go anywhere.
Leap of Faith with Penina Taylor.
We live in the age of information, but not inspiration. If you're like me, you're looking to be inspired to reach higher, to connect more, and to grow. Well, if you want to get warm, you need to stand close to the fire. And if you want to catch fire, you need to stand close enough to get hit by the sparks. Join me, Penina Taylor, as we walk with people who have embarked on a spiritual journey towards Torah. We'll uncover what started them on their journey and what truths they discovered along the way. So prepare to be inspired as we take a leap of faith every Sunday at 5 p.m. on Israel News Talk Radio.
All right, we're back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com, and it is time now for our Jewish activism segment with Shifra Hoffman. Shifra is the founder of victimsofArabTerror.org, and she is the director of Shuva.net. Welcome to the show, Shifra Hoffman.
Thank you, Tamar. I feel we should all be very grateful to God Almighty that the corona is seemingly it's run its course, I hope, and especially in Israel, people are out in the streets, people are shopping, and it was a very good time to be introspective and to say, dear God, you gave us so much. A little tiny microscopic bug could take it all away if you decide, but why did you decide? Maybe you weren't doing the right thing. So let's do the right thing. We got to Israel, to Eretz Israel, after 2,000 years with your help, because you promised to bring us back, and because this is the way you show the world you are our God and we are your people. So let the Jews come back to Torah, and we will fulfill the prophecy.
Amen.
Now, I would like to dedicate at least part of this active segment to the brave soldiers, especially Amit Ben-Yigal. May his soul be bound up with all the good Jewish souls in heaven, who was mercilessly murdered by a cowardly terrorist who took a brick and threw it down on his head, and he died immediately, but not, and I want you to please pay attention to this, not before he saved two of his soldiers. He pushed two soldiers out of the way because he was afraid they would throw bricks, and he took the hit. I want to call upon the Defense Department, to the Army. Of course, I'm not an expert in defense, but certainly as a Jew and as a concerned Jew, do not have single children. That means the only child in the family to go to combat units. What does it do to that old father? The son that he doted on, that he treasured so, that he wanted just to be happy with, is no longer with him. And I think he's also a widower. Please, Minister of Defense, whoever you are or will be, do not allow single children that have no brothers and sisters to go to combat units. There's enough work in the Army for them to do in other units. And also, we have to remember that the parents suffer tremendously. I think there should be a day for soldiers, SOS, support our soldiers. Now, it's true that the soldier might press his parent or his family, I want to go to a combat unit, sign for me. Please don't do it. I wanted my children to be in the Army, but I wouldn't sign for them if they were the only child. Don't do it, and don't cause more misery.
Right. I just want to say here that he's not the only child. He has 3 sisters, I believe, but he is the only son. And according to the IDF, and I did go to look this up, Shifra, because I know that you wanted to talk about this subject, and I wanted to get to the source of it. I'm just trying to find my notes. It says on the IDF website there for this, it says, an only son in families in which there are no other children cannot be sent to a frontline unit unless his parents sign a waiver. The same qualification exists if a member of the family fell during their military service. So
that's good.
Just so you know, they will not be taken unless
I think it's the right thing to do. Absolutely.
Okay.
And now let's
wait. Before you change the subjects, Shifra, I think it's very important for people to understand how this soldier died, because my sons were in combat units as well. And when they went to go make arrests of terrorists that were in these Arab villages, the Arabs would tell their friends the IDF is coming in. They would prepare. They went up to the roof. My sons themselves saw and witnessed them throwing off refrigerators from rooftops on top of the heads of Israeli soldiers. They threw off washing machines, and they even threw off a live donkey on top of the heads of Israeli soldiers. They saw this, and it is a horrible thing. And the IDF, what they do need to change is their open fire laws and orders, because they don't want to have big riots. They don't want to make big headlines. And so they try to do this as quickly and quietly as possible. And if a soldier is hurt, it's unfortunate, but they want to keep numbers low. And this is what has to be changed, the open fire policy for the IDF to prevent terrible, terrible deaths like this, and the chutzpah of these evil, evil terrorists and terrorist supporters in these villages who are throwing down live donkeys. I mean, where's PETA? Where are these organizations? If you don't care about human life, then at least where are they that they claim that they care about animal life? Okay, go ahead, Shifra.
Well, you're certainly right, Tamar. Nobody can argue with that except the one thing. Now that we have a government, supposedly a unity government, let's see some unity. The Arabs do not belong here, the hostile ones that refuse to have allegiance to the state. The Arabs belong in their 22 countries. No matter what you're going to say, what you're going to write, what you're going to speak about, it's not going to work. The Arab is committed to killing or to dying in order to get Israel to get out of this area. They don't want to see Eretz Israel at all. They want their so-called Palestine, which, by the way, they can't even pronounce the P. They never had a Palestine, and when they refer to it now, they call it Palestine because they can't pronounce the P. They did a very good public relations job, and as I said in one of my poems that I wrote, it's true that these animals, they're animals. They don't care about human life. Not long ago, there was a foreman that was working on the roof with Arabs, and he was up on the ladder. They cut the rope to the ladder and sent him to his death. These people can live with others? Absolutely not. The idea and the plan is no, no, no. If there are no hostile Arabs, Arabim, hostile that do these things, then ain't piguim. And I don't care if they call me a racist. I'm not a racist. I'm a realist. It's enough already. Almost 3,000 dead people, Israelis, 6,000 wounded, more than the corona almost. Don't do it. Dear government, are you starting out? Start out on the right foot and get the Arabs to their own countries, and it'll be better for us and better for them.
Okay, I just had to say that this, as the host of this program, that this is your opinion. Israel is a supposed democracy. There has to be law and order, and any criminals will be tried and need to be tried. But go ahead, Shifra.
Yeah, well, the trouble is the criminals are treated very well. As I said in my, songs, maybe one of these days we'll have time, and I'll sing it to you or say it to you, that Israel treats its terrorists very well. Even if they murder and they put them in the cell, they still get all the benefits you get in a hotel. So stop it already. You're supposed to be punished, not rewarded. Okay, now...
Okay, that's an exaggeration, but all right, go ahead.
I want to speak a little bit about protecting, it says, Ezehu Hacham Haroeh Et HaNolad. Who is wise? He who sees the future. After the whole corona deal, and ordeal, I should say, they're now saying there's going to be a terrible shortage of food. And I believe that. It says so in the Tanakh also, that after there was a plague, there was a famine. I'm urging all our Jewish people, go to the store and now buy non-perishable food that doesn't spoil easily, in cans like vegetables canned foods, matzah, crackers, rice, all these things. Have it on hand. Also, it's good to buy one of those non-electric stoves that you can just light up with a match. And be prepared. You know, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So remember that you heard it here on the Tamar Jonah Show with Shifra Hoffman, and do it.
Okay, Shifra, that's a very, very important thing that you brought up, because even if there is no a food shortage does not happen, which there already are, by the way. I've been to the supermarket, and there are shortages of several items, but people should stock up, because, again, this is a time where the economy is opening up. People can go shopping and do these things. Take advantage of it just in case a round 2 of the coronavirus comes again and we are under lockdown again. So now is the time to stock up, as Shifra is wisely saying. And in addition to that, as I said at the beginning of the show, the Homefront Command has put out also announcements that every Israeli citizen should have at least 4 liters of water put aside in case of an emergency as well, because of attempted attacks on Israel's water system through cyber terror from Iran. And so we have to remember, not just drinking water, but also just to be able to flush your toilets. You need to have water stocked up for that as well, because it could cause disease and make your home a very smelly, unpleasant place to be if you cannot flush. So you should have this, even water that's, as they say, gray water, just for your toilets, and drinking water for yourself. Shifra,
right.
last 10 seconds.
I just want to say, it's a very wise saying, better to have and not need than to need and not have.
Amen. Very good. And anybody who wants to contact Shifra, they can do so at hoffmanshifra at gmail.com. And I want to thank Shifra for coming on the show today, and I want to thank all of you as well for being here. If you have any comments or questions, you can feel free to write me or to post your comments on the page where the show is podcasted, or you can write me, Tamar, Tamar, at IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. I want to thank you all for being with us today. May you stay safe, may you stay healthy, may you stay well stocked up for any future emergencies that we may have. Thank you for being with us, everybody.
If you love Israel News Talk Radio, then you'll love our Facebook page. We keep you up to date on what's happening in Israel, plus little surprise treasures that we don't share on the radio. Go now to follow us on Facebook. Just look for the Israel News Talk Radio Facebook page, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us by clicking on the like button. We post great stuff there that you'll want to share. Israel News Talk Radio on Facebook and Israel News Radio on Twitter.
If you're hearing this message, everyone else can too. Advertise with Israel News Talk Radio and get your message out to people. We'll build a personalized package for you. Contact advertising at IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com.
Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Hey, this is Jake in Anchorage, Alaska, and I love listening to all the super interesting interviews and up-to-date information on what's happening in Israel.
Hello, this is Anna King, originally from London, now living in Israel. And what can I say? Israel News Talk Radio is my cup of tea.
My name is Bhaskar. I'm from India, and I love listening because you get to know the truth and wonderful voices from this lovely country.
Mom! Okay, wait a minute. Hi, this is Chava Dax, and I'm calling from the rolling hills of Ma'ale Adumim, just north of Jerusalem. I always listen to Israel News Talk Radio to get all the latest news and commentary and to keep me up to date every day.
This is Sarah Dax from Ma'ale Adumim, and I'm 12. I wish Israel News Talk Radio was boring so my mom wouldn't listen to it all the time. Mom!
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.